This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we were discussing about the one-time payments where by using this spreadsheet you can upload the invoices related to the supplier whom the supplier is not required to be created in your database, right? So we had an issue while importing, it was going into error, right? So I have identified the root cause, because if you remember, while we are checking on the one-time payment prerequisite, you should define the one-time payment liability and the expense account on the manage common options of procurement. If not, the same has to be provided in the Excel sheet. Okay, but what I missed in while uploading it is, so the liability account was not provided. So this is the account which we haven't provided while uploading. Okay, that is the reason it got rejected. It got rejected while importing, and it had put in the exception report. Right, in the same PDF, we have seen the record in the exception report. What we will do right now is we will just change the supplier name, invoice ID. Will upload the same by providing the liability account. Okay, we change the supplier name to uh, something, right? So this you can keep the same one, or else you can rename it with something else. And the address also you can keep it as it is, not an issue. Okay, tax profile, let me update so that we should not see any surprise while uploading. So the business unit is going to be same, source is going to be same, the invoice number I am going to update. Right, the invoice date is going to be the 23. I'm going to update, but the 21 also it should work, because this is the period, open period date, right? So liability I have taken as 5103. Let me update over here the same line amount, everything remains same, right? Okay, so I've just updated the supplier and the invoice ID, invoice number, and also option. And additionally, we have provided the liability account which we missed earlier, right? That is what the change we did. Okay, so once the data is filled, then what you need to simply generate the CSV file, right? So just give me 1 minute. Let me create one-time payments 3. Okay, saving the zip file as well as the CSV file. Right, now what is the next task? Anyone?
Schedule process.
Yes, go to the schedule process, load that file into interface tables, right? That is what is the process. When you are creating an invoice or whatever the transaction from the application front ends, that we call a UI, user interface, the data directly gets uploaded into your base tables, right? But when you are importing any transaction, be it a journal or an invoice or payment, whatever, a supplier record, bank account, whatever the data you are importing into base tables, that has to be follow the same process. First you need to first the data will be loaded into interface tables, right? Once the interface table is populated, it does certain validations. Once that is done, then the import another program, which another programmer job, whatever you call, right, that pulls the data from interface table to base tables. This is what the process for any data which you import into Oracle applications, right? So now the file is available with us. The file has to be moved into or load into interface tables. Load interface file for import, and it should ask you the process, which process you are importing the data, which means that what it will do is it will load this data into the relevant the process related interface tables. Okay, so interface tables also, there will be a different interface tables exist, and that data needs to be populated. Payables, import payables payment requests, this is the process name. Okay, and give the data file, whatever you have saved on your local machine, right, that you need to provide. I've saved my file into OTP3. The Excel file you need to give, the CSV file format you need to upload into your interface tables, right? Just submit it. I'm just filtering the programs which are triggered by this user only, because submitted by, you can start use this option. Otherwise it will show the all the programs which triggered after this time, whatever the default time it is populated, right? After that it shows all the requests that get submitted, but I just want to see the request which submitted with this user, so that the relevant programs can be displayed. Okay, the file is loaded. You can go and check the logs if you want. Okay, but I'm going to now, the file is in interface tables, right? Now my job is to import the data into base tables, right? When we import the data into base tables, what happens, the relevant transaction will be created. So it gives you the description what this job is going to do. Okay, import the payment request for one time payments. The process creates a party side, payee bank account, invoices from the data into payment request interface tables. That is what the job is. That is what are the actions that the job is going to do. So which business unit related, there might be n number of business units data exist in the interface tables, right? So which business unit related data, which ledger related data, I need this program to be imported, right? One of the important topics that we discussed is the source. The source, what source you need to use? Source for one time payments. This is the source which Oracle has predefinedly given. The same source you can use for your importing process for one time payments. import payables payment requests. This is going to job the do the job of importing. Then it is taking longer time. Okay, this the import process got completed, and the execution report is it got triggered. Even this is also got finished. Let us go and check the output if it is imported or not. So this is the output: payables payment process request import execution report that we call generally. So this is what is the source, what are the parameter details it gives you. The next page, it has given you the payables payment request import report, the payables payment request audit report. What it has given for the Cello INC OTP 9164 is the invoice number that got created. If you can see, total payment request imported one, total payment request processed 1 and total payment request imported 1, which means the record is processed and imported. The last page would ideally, if it goes into the error or exception, that will be displayed over here. Okay, in the last page, payables payment request import report. Here, if any rejection, if any records which fails the validation, those will put under the exception and those will be displayed over here. This is the record, this area we have seen the report yesterday's in the last session, right? Let us go and view the created invoice. Payables invoices, and this is the invoice number. Why? Acha, okay. Cello 123 was the invoice number we have given. Okay. Okay. So no worries. So the invoice is created, Cello 123. The invoice is validated, if you can see, which means the invoice is already created by way of validation, right? So go into the edit mode. Can you see the invoice type? It is the payment request invoice type. What is the invoice type that gets created while for your importing for one-time payments? The invoice type would be the payment request invoice. That is what you should remember. And go into the distributions. Right, this is the account which we have given as the expense account in our the Excel. This is the distribution combination 6901. This is the account we have given, okay, as an expense account. We have even given another code combination, right? Liability account. So when you run the create accounting, this is the liability account. It is going to come as your and your create accounting. Optionally, you can go and view on the header level, right, in the accounting tab. This is the one. 5103 is the liability account which is populated on this invoice. Okay, fine. The rest of the process remains same, making the payment. Okay, so what is the difference between this invoice? What is the difference between the creation? See, when we imported, the supplier doesn't exist. This LOINC was not at all exist in the application, but the invoice is created. That is what is the actual intention of this process. That is what we discussed, right? But let us assume once the invoice is created, against the payment request invoice is created by using this import process, the next question is, can we use the supplier to create invoices from the application UIs? Right, the invoice is created, which means this party is already exist in the application, but can we create? Let us go and see. Can you see? You cannot find the supplier in the invoice creation form. That is what the intended functionality of Oracle applications. So that is how the one-time payments works, right? So let's move into the next topic. Fine. So we'll see the foreign currency invoices and payments, bills payable and pay alone. These are the three topics we'll try to cover for today. So what is a foreign currency invoice and payments? So far, whatever we created, whatever the invoice we created are, we have created in US dollar, which is a functional currency, right? A ledger currency. That is what in another terms we discuss, right? So what if the invoice, what if you have a company has dealt with an supplier who is from the different geographical area, maybe he belongs to a different country, right? So where the supplier will be issuing the invoice in their local currency, right? So in that case, obviously you need to create the supplier, you need to create the invoice which is sent by the supplier in the currency which the invoice is being sent, right? So in that case, we also need to create the invoice in the application with this specific currency denomination that the invoice has. So what is the require, what is the prerequisite to create an invoice, right? So whatever the invoice that whatever the invoice or transaction that you create will get recorded in the ledger currency. So if I want to create transactions in apart from ledger currency or functional currency, what happens, what topic comes into picture? The currency conversion rates, right? So conversion rate should exist in your application. Okay, first let us go and check the currency conversion rates are defined or not. Okay, and another configuration you need to make at the bank account level, enable bank account for multi-currency payments. Okay, so while defining the bank account, there will be a checkbox where if you enable that, so that means the application allows you to make that bank account to use make payments in any currency. Otherwise, if you do not enable, what happens is while creating the bank account, we would have given the currency as a default value, one of the value. In only in that currency you can make the payments from that bank account. If not enabled, if enable this multi-currency, then it will be used for making payments in any currency, right? So let us go back into the application and whether the conversion rates exist or not. So everyone is aware how you load the currency conversion, right? So that we have seen as part of our GL topics. So let us go into the task,
Currency conversion.
manage daily rates, currency conversion rates, whatever, right? So this is the currency rates manager, daily rate types. The type, first you should have your type, rate type defined. Against to rate type, you will be loading your rates. That is what we discussed, right? So how you load your currency conversion rates by using the spreadsheet. So I want to create an invoice in INR, right? First, let me check whether the rates exist or not. For what type? I am going to use corporate as my conversion rate type and check if the rates are exist. Okay, the rates are already available in the application. Okay, so just see what are the rates that got uploaded. Okay, just let me take a snipping tool here. These are the rates. Right, these are the rates which are available in the application. If that doesn't exist, what you do generally, you go into the create spreadsheet and open it, right? It will connect you to the your application, right? Once it is connected, it will ask you to give your credentials. Once it is connected, you will be giving the the from currency to currency, and the dates, everything you will be giving, right? So once the data is published, then simply you click on upload rates. That is what is the process, right? So the rates are already exist. Okay, this is done. And next topic, setup for these currency conversions of foreign currency invoices is the enable bank account for multiple currencies. Enable bank account for multi currencies. This setup is required for making payments. Even though without this, the multi-currency enable at the bank account, it will allow you to create the invoice, because at the invoice creation process, that validation doesn't come into picture, right? When actually you are making the payment, you need to select the currency to make the payment, right? So while making the payment, you should have your bank account enabled for multi currencies. Let me go into the setup and maintenance, financials, cash management, and bank accounts. What is my bank account? Apple. Just going to edit mode. There is a checkbox, multi-currency account. Just enable this. What does it mean is, by using this bank account, okay? So while creating the bank account, we have given the currency as USD, which means without enabling this checkbox, this bank account is going to be used only for the USD currency payments. Okay, if you enable this one, this field will get overhead, and this bank will be available for making payments in any currency, right? I'm done with my configurations now. Okay, let me go and test the functionality. Right, so I just want to explain one more thing over here as well. So one of the account which gets defaults. Okay, so while you are making the see, there are two steps involved. One is the invoice creation, and the another one is the payment, right? So these invoice creation payments are going to happen in foreign currency, which is not your functional currency, right? So what happens is, the currency, whenever the currency conversion rates comes into picture, there are chances of your conversion rates gets fluctuated, right? due to that Due to the fluctuations, there might be a difference. According to the fluctuations, the amount may gets affected with what you got from the invoice, right? What you are actually paying at the time of paying, the currency conversion rate may gets fluctuated, right? According to that, you need to make the payment. Let us say I'm creating an invoice, INR invoice, right? So I'm creating an invoice in INR, but my functional currency is USD, right? So so for 7,500 worth of INR, right? I got I got an invoice, right? So when I create an invoice, what happens is, we are recording the invoice in INR currency. By the help of With the help of currency conversion rates, what application will do is, it records this transaction in your entered currency as well as your functional currency. Let us say my currency conversion rate was 70.75, $75, sorry, 75 rupees are equal to $1, right? So this is what, right? This is what is the conversion rate. Okay, so these are by INR representations, right? This, when I am doing it, let us say I'm making the payment, I'm creating an invoice with today's date, right? So supplier has given me an invoice for the services which we render. The supplier said I need $7,500, sorry, 7,500 INR rupees. Okay, since the supplier is from India, right? So the payment you are making later part, let us say maybe after 3 days or 2 days or tomorrow, whatever, right? So since the supplier, same supplier, even after 1 week or whatever the due date, you would expect the same payment, right? Whatever the invoice he has issued for the same amount, he would be expecting you to make the payment. He would expecting either a check or a bank transfer, right? Let us say you are making the payment on 25th of the March. The same INR 7,500 you are making payment, but the currency conversion rate may, let us say, it went into what do you call, it went into up, let us say it went into 0.76, right? Which means $1 is equal to 76 rupees is equal to $1. That is what is the meaning, right? So what happens, what would be the proportionate amount that that would be the that would be used, right? Sorry, it should be equal into, right, multiplication. 7,500 divided by 0.75, $75. I think I had made a mistake here. How much it would be the, let me see. Okay. See, so with the currency fluctuation, the same 7,500 we are paying, but the amount, the equivalent amount is 5,700. In that case, what happens? The whatever the additional amount we are paying, right here, we are supposed to pay, 5,625, but we are paying 5,700, right? In that case, what happens, the additional, whatever the additional amount we are paying is going to hit into your one account, that is called, we call as realized gain and loss accounts. Okay, where do you set up that? We already set up that account as part of our common options, because it was one of the mandatory account, right? You can go and view this account. So realized gain and loss account. Okay, so what we have given, the gain and loss accounts, we have given the same account, but you can have a different accounts. It's up to you which account you want. Okay, which account, if your company policy says that I want to track them in different accounts, generally in that case you will be having a different account. If the company wishes to track in the same account, if the customer tracks into the same account, the you can use the same account. What happens if you use the same account, what happens when the when it is lost, that will be get debited, and when it gain, it is going to be credited, right? So the net impact would be, the net balances would be shown accurate only. But what I wanted to showcase here is, when you are making the payment, the gain or loss accounts will come into picture, and that gain or loss accounts are going to be defaulted from this setup. Okay, so let me go and create an invoice creation process and make the payment for that invoice. I'm creating an invoice now. Select the business unit. your supplier, right? So we are creating an invoice in INR. We need to make the currency change, right? The same 7,500. Okay. So the payment terms immediate I'm creating, right? So let me go and update this distribution as well. Any account I can take, right? Just validate. Validate and create accounting. I think I messed up these calculations here, but let's see. Whatever application gets calculated, that we will update over there, right? Fine. Before going to the view accounting, so you can see how this, even though we are entering the invoice in INR, right? INR currency, where does this amounts are getting converted into our ledger currency, right? That you can see that the derivation point for that calculation is the currency conversion rate that we defined in the GL, and you can go and view see on these conversion rates. What was the conversion rate type that is being used? Corporate. And conversion date. What is the date this is being used? Is the 23, the invoice creation date. And what is the rate? The rate is all automatically populated. The conversion rate is going to use is $1, $1 equal to 76.99 is the conversion rate that application is being used. Okay, let me update over here, right? INR to USD. Okay, so you can go and view into the accounting. Can you see the entered currency is this same item expense and liability account? The accounting is fine. Expense account liability got generated. But if you see at the towards the right corner, the accounted, the same transaction is accounted and recorded in your books of accounts with the two denominations. One is in the enter currency, which we have entered in INR currency, and the other one is the accounted currency, which we call as your ledger currency, right? So this is also right. Okay, so what happens when you are, if you go and view this process creates a journal, right? The same account, same details you can view in the GL as well. So your ledger is going to hit with this $97.4 as the balances, and also it represents the same value. It also record the transaction in INR as well, so that you can view what is the entered currency, what is the accounting currency balances inside of your ledgers. Okay, let me go and make the payment against this invoice. Payables, payments, right? Go to task panel, create payment, right? Select your business unit and your supplier, right? So I want to make the payment. I want to see the currency conversion differences, right? So I have loaded the currency conversion rates for different date for different rates. I have loaded, right? For 23, what is the rate? for what is the rate it has taken? It is almost for 23. It has taken this rate, right? Almost. So I have uploaded the various rates. Let us say I'll make the payment with March 26 date, which is $80 per $80 INR for $1. Okay, so that to see the difference, I'll make the payment with future date. I mean with the just to see the conversion rates due to the currency. I want to showcase that at the time of creating an invoice, the currency conversion rate was something, and at the time of making the payment, the currency was conversion rate was something else, so that the difference between these two dates will be hit into which account. That is what we can visualize on the payment document. Okay, just I'm taking the bank account and select the payment process profile. Okay, so before next job is to you need to make the payment of that invoice before making the before paying that. So if you can see the payment currency with before enabling, before your bank account is enabled for multi currency, this payment currency used to be updated as your USD currency, because the bank account was defined in the currency, and this field used to be in grayed out mode, which was never in an editable, which was never in editable mode, right? Because we have enabled that bank account and multi currency, that is the reason it is asking you to, you can change the payment currency. I am changing my payment currency to INR because I want to make the payment in INR, right? Now you can check the invoices. This is the invoice which I just created. See, how come this application is showing only one invoice? Because for this supplier, the invoices which has the payment currency INR are only one invoice. That is the reason there are multiple invoice exist for this supplier, but none of them are showing up in this specific payment document. Why? Because the payment currency we have selected INR, and it gets by default, it gets applied a filter saying that whatever the INR payment currency invoices all only will be displayed over here. Okay, I want to make the full payment, right? I want to make the full payment because of the interest enabled, the interest got calculated, right? Just save it, which means the payment is going to be completed and it is going to generate a payment document. Right, the payment document 20 got generated. Let us go and view the accounting. Right, just open this document and run create accounting. You can do it from the actions as well. So I am supposed to pay 7,500, right? So interest line is being added. If you ignore this interest 10.442, what would be the rate? The additionally 97 what amount we have paid? The liability at the time of invoicing, I am supposed to, according to my currency conversion rates, I am supposed to pay 97.40, right? $40, 97.40 cents I am supposed to pay. But due to the currency fluctuations, the currency conversion rate went into $80 per 80 rupees for $1. Due to that, my liability got increased, right? I am supposed, because 7,500 I need to pay, for which the currency conversion rate was around 76.99 something, due to which the 97 was I am supposed to pay, but it went into 80, so that 7,500 rupees is equal to, at the rate of 80, what would be the equal to? It would be equal to 107 point one not even 107. This 0.15 is the interest is calculated, right? If you reduce this amount, 9.50 plus this one, how much it comes to? 106.90. That would be the amount it which I am going to, which I am paying it, right? I am supposed to pay for this 106.90, right? I am supposed to pay. I'm sorry guys, just give me 1 minute. Yes, sorry guys. So the same 7,500 while I'm making on the different date, it due to the fluctuations of currency conversion rate, it went into, because of the currency fluctuations, I'm actually paying 7,500 only. But because of the fluctuation currency fluctuations, I am paying $106, right? Which means my I'm supposed to pay 95, I am paying 106, because it is increasing my liability, right? Which is a loss to me, right? That is why you should see the loss account, and realized loss account got hit into your accounting phase. Okay, that is, all the losses will be debited and all the gains will be credited. That is the accounting thumb rule, right? So this is how your foreign currency invoices and payment functionality will work. Fine. Any doubts on this topic?
Yeah, Tirupati, can we mention the gain and loss accounts will be different at the time of
You can. That is
managed
what I have explained. That is what I have explained. It's up to the company policy for which the customer you are working. You can
Okay,
have a
okay.
different account, you can have the same account, but net impact is remains same. See, I am maintaining 69. What was the account? 6902, right? Let us say 6902 is the gain and 6902 is the loss account. 6903 is the loss account. Let us assume that. Okay. So when you are if you are maintaining different accounts, what happens? This amount will the let us say you have got 200 gain in one document and 300 loss on your one document. At the net effect of your balance sheet, what happens? Depends upon the balance, depends upon your account representation. What happens? The net impact would be the, what would be the net impact? Still the last 300 is your loss, right? 200 is gain. Net impact is still you have 100 unrealized loss as part of your net impact, right? Assume that you have the same account. Assume you have punched in the same account. Your company policy says, your customer says, I don't want to maintain in different accounts, I want to maintain in one account. What happens? This account, in the same account, one way it gets debited and one way it gets credited, right? The net impact would be same, right? You understand the
Yeah,
concept?
Tirupati. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. Okay, so this is how your currency conversion rates works. And just to avoid the confusion, what I would do is I would disable the interest calculation part, because we don't want to see that line art for all the times, because it creates some confusion for you guys. Interest invoice, it is in manage invoice options, right? Fine. So the next topic is the bills payable. My God, we are almost okay. Okay. So instead of bills payable, let me take pay alone. So pay alone, what does this functionality will do is the term itself is says pay alone means uh, each invoice will be paid alone, which means a supplier who is having multiple invoices on the payment date, for multiple invoices we are paying one check, right? While generating the payment document, we are able to select the multiple invoices for one payment, one document, right? When you, what does it mean is the pay alone is when you have enabled or when you have configured your system to use the pay alone functionality for that specific supplier or supplier site, you will be application will be issuing or generating an one payment document for each invoice, which means we are making payments for a supplier. We are making a payment today for a supplier who has three invoices which are due today. So with this option, it is going to generate three checks, three individual checks for each invoice. Okay. If this option is not enabled, if this functionality is not set up in the application, for the same supplier, the three invoices will be get paid in one payment document, which is one check. That is what is the major difference is the pay alone functionality. How do you achieve that? Just at the supplier site level, you need to enable the pay alone function. Okay, go to the supplier's task, manage suppliers, create your supplier, right? Go to the sites, sites, under the sites go to the payments, payment attributes, must be under payment specifications, yes. Where we have went, where we have navigated from the supplier side, and under supplier sides payments is the main tab we went in. Under the payment tab, payment attributes, under payment attributes, payment specifications, pay each invoice alone, just enable this option. Pay each document payables in separate payment, even if other documents payables with like attributes exist. That is, it is giving what is the meanings of what is this functionality is about. Okay, if I enable that, again it goes into the approvals, right? So let us let it to go into the approval process. So let me try to create an invoice for this supplier. Create an invoice. Apple Business Unit. User. I can create in any currency, not an issue. $500. Right, just validate it. Go and check in the manage installments. Can you see here pay alone is got enabled? If you can see on the window, pay alone is enabled by default. How come this is enabled? Because we have enabled this supplier site level, this pay alone got box checkbox got enabled, which means Now we'll see what is the impact. 23,200, right? This is the invoice number. Let me go into the payments. Create payment. Right, the check number which is going to generate it is 21, and see there are various invoices exist, right? So if you can see, PLN, since the PLN is enabled, it is the only one invoice which is got created with PLN. Okay, we'll see the difference now. Let us see. I've just selected this invoice to be paid with this document, and can you see, if you can, assign, if you can know what is the main intention. One document, one invoice is going to be paid with one document. That is what is the functionality it should check, right? Let us try to see if it application allows multiple invoices. See, you can't pay this invoice with other invoices because it's pay on invoice, or you already selected the pay on invoice, right? Do you understand this meaning? What it is saying is, by using this, when the pay alone is enabled, whenever you are making the payment, the invoice which is marked as pay alone will be paid with one document, which is, this is what the check number for the check which I can, which by using this check I can make the payment of only one check. Okay, assume that if here by creating this create payments, you will be able to generate one payment document, because we are issuing one payment document, right? So but if but while you are creating the invoices by using the payment process request, PPRs, okay, what happens with the same functionality is, assume that this supplier assume that this supplier has multiple pay alone invoices. Let us say 200 300 are the two invoices which are created with pay alone option, and those two invoices are selected under your PPR. So once the PPR is completed, it will check two prints, number 21 for 23 200, number 22 for the 23 300. That is how the functionality is going to work. You can check that functionality by creating multiple invoices by going through the PPR process as well. Okay, that is one thing. And so the other option we know, right? So the if assume that you do not have the, you are not selecting the invoice which is not marked as pay alone. So which pay alone is not, no, those invoices I am selecting, it is allowing, because these invoices are not the pay alone invoices. That is why it is allowing you to select multiple invoices. Understood the difference? So
Yes,
just
sir.
let me pick the pay alone invoice here and run the payment process through. The process remains same. It's just a additional qualifier which is being added on the invoice, so that the condition, it is just a condition you are laying down on your invoice workbench, saying that the one invoice should have one check. That's it. So if you have multiple invoices, multiple checks. Okay, fine, then we'll see tomorrow